A blizzard, a rap song, and 26 points for Nassir Little. We got a lot to talk about. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richman. You're listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making the show your first listen. It's free on all platforms, 5 days a week, coming at you Monday through Friday. So make it your first listen every day. Start your days. Listen to Locked On Blazers, your team every day. Okay, we have, the Blazers have played one basketball game all week, and somehow we have a loaded show to talk about. Typically, we'd lead off the show talking fastest recap in the West. The Blazers lose to the Kings in Sacramento, but even getting to that point, it has been quite a journey. So we will detail the journey, the saga that led up to tip-off. We'll do fastest recap in the West, and then I'll share some stray thoughts from the Blazers' loss to the Kings, including a breakout performance from Nassir Little, who was really stinking good. And spoiler, is going to win an award later in the show. Stick around for the hardware. But Portland, prior to the game in Sacramento, they had a lot of tribulations in order to get there. So they were supposed to leave Wednesday at around 3 p.m., fly to Sacramento, play the first game from the break, get back, play game Sunday, kick off the first of 24 remaining before the All-Star break. They head to the airport for what was scheduled to be roughly a 3 p.m. flight out of Portland to Sacramento. It's like an hour-long flight, 400 or so miles south down there to Sacramento. And unfortunately, Portland had one of the largest weather events, the largest single day snowfall in recorded history in the city. Where I live is varying depending on where parts of town, but like where I live, we got over 10 inches of snow in the city in 24 hours. It was wild. By about 3 o'clock on Wednesday, when the Blazers were going to take off near the airport, there was more than 4 inches of snow on the ground, and it was actively snowing and getting colder because the sun was setting. Not a great time to get on a flight, even a private flight. So the Blazers chill on the tarmac. You do what you do when your flight's delayed. They get on the flight for, a handful of several hours. They chill. They stay on the tarmac for 7 hours on the plane and don't go anywhere. But during that time, Damian Lillard did what any self-respecting millennial would do. He pulled out the Notes app on his phone and wrote a rap song about his colleagues and what he was seeing around him in his immediate area. Had a real homies in the dorm room vibe. Reminded me of certainly. We didn't have a Notes app back in the day, but sitting around killing time, somebody writes a rap song. That sounds familiar to me. And it was really fun. The difference is Damian Lillard, one, very wealthy, $500 million, and two, he's got my man Tristan to shoot it. Where the heck is Tristan? Indeed. So they were able to shoot it on a camera shooting a whole bunch of frames per second. Looks incredible. They've got the portable speaker playing beats in there. It's a whole bunch of fun. I was going to play a little bit of that song, but I would say adult themes, a bunch of bad language, and I don't want to steal from the good folks at Trailblazers Incorporated. I mean, I do from time to time, but I make it like one to 4 times a year. I'm not gonna steal that one, but suffice to say, they had to get Matisse up off the Sixers, and they got shooters in the locker room like the Wizards. I will link the video in the episode description for this episode. It was a bunch of fun. So the vibes are incredible. Like the video is fun. Jeremy Grant is vibing. Nassir Little and Justice Winslow are having a good time. Jabari Walker cannot help but cracking a massive smile. Matisse Thybulle looks like he's loving it. Trendon Watford is like the perfect other dude in the rap video. My friend in the rap video, Trendon Watford's perfect for that role. Shaedon Sharpe's there, and he is confused at what it's like to not be a teenager, and it's kind of incredible to see him not react to something so fun. It's just a great video. The vibes are incredible. Here's the problem. They didn't go anywhere. They just made a video on the plane, and then they went home. They bailed at 10 p.m., Guys drove back to their house. I guess, according to the broadcast, some other Blazers staffers just like slept at the airport. It was a nightmare, right? Like, they still have to go. Typically, NBA teams, the rules, you have to travel 24 hours before the game. That's why they leave at 3. That's why they were going to leave at 3 o'clock. But earlier this year, a precedent was set that because of when there is inclement weather, when there is big snow events, the NBA had allowed a team to travel day of because of inclement weather. That New Orleans Pelicans couldn't get into Dallas because of snow. They traveled day of. They arrived about 7 hours before tip-off. That kind of set a precedent for, like, the league is okay with this if you can, like, hit that type of time frame. So the Blazers aim for that type of time frame. Thursday morning, they schedule a flight to leave at 11 a.m. The problem was, by 1:45 on Thursday, game day, they still hadn't taken off. So far, the only thing they'd done is make a fun rap video. They had spent a lot of time sitting on the plane, and they had made a rap video. That's it, and that's all. They had not done anything else. So then the Blazers finally do take off, at scheduled 11, finally take off at 11:45. They landed just before 3 o'clock. Shout out to Sacramento Bee who reported this. Jason Anderson, the editor of Sports Editor, former Kings beat writer for the Sacramento Bee, who reported this and looked up the flight logs to get that the Blazers were scheduled to land at 2:48 p.m. That's where I got this information from. Thank you, Jason. But it's that is really close to tip-off in the grand scheme of things. You are now landing at 3 o'clock. You're 4 hours before tip-off. Typically, like the earliest guys, like the young guys, the sort of like John Butlers, Jabari Walkers of the world, would be at the arena at about 4:30 for a 7 o'clock game. So they would be there, 2.5 hours beforehand to get reps, and the rest of the guys would start coming in like in the 5 p.m. range. They might be in the arena prior to 5 o'clock. Like many of them, maybe even there as early as 4 to get ready. But like they wouldn't be out on the court until about 5. Damian Lillard specifically is like an early workout type of guy. And when the Blazers arrive in Sacramento, they rule out Jeremy Grant and Damian Lillard for rest, and so they don't play. So now a team that's already without Anthony Simons, without Justice Winslow, without Yusuf Nurkic, is going to be without Damian Lillard and without Jeremy Grant. That's basically plenty of people's ideal starting 5 from the beginning of the season, not available in this game. And choosing not to play Dame and Jeremy Grant there's 2 ways to view it. One, which I think is the generous read, if you're interested in being very generous, you could say, like, listen, these dudes are 30-some years old. Dame's 32, Jeremy Grant's 29. You're asking them to show up to the arena with not their typical prep time after getting off a plane, the sort of changing altitude, but get your body into peak physical condition, travel day of, all of these challenging things to play a basketball game. And there's reason to believe that this is just health precautions. There's no reason to force, protect your best 2 players and say, you're not going to play in this game because it's travel conditions, and this whole scenario is just too much. The less generous read is that the Blazers don't care about winning, and so they decided to be cautious because the loss doesn't matter to them, and it might even be more favorable to their personal preferences. They hadn't played a game in 9 days. Like, there is some reality of the plane, like of the altitude, right? And the change in altitude and all of that, and the you land in Sacramento, which is the arena's in downtown. The airport is not particularly close, but it's like 35 minutes, maybe with traffic, 30 minutes. Even if you move quickly, you get to the arena at 4 o'clock, about 3 hours before tip-off. By the time you get taped up and get out to play, like you're closing in on an hour before tip-off, about 35 minutes before the tip-off. Like, that's it. Dudes are in the locker room. You're getting talking to coach, and it's on. Like, the game starts. So like very small window to warm up. I get it. I can see the generous read, but the other read is the Blazers didn't care about winning. And that's like, I mean, I've said it on the podcast, that might even be the way to go. But like, Dame basically said like the exact opposite. He knows what the team's ultimate goals are. And while, he kind of hinted at like, he understands the team might be comfortable missing the playoffs, but he certainly is going to go the other way. The way to the way to like not allow that to happen is to take the decision out of his hands and make him rest. Like I expect Dame to play Sunday. I expect him to play a bunch more games. I don't think this is like the beginning of this like epic tank moment, but this did feel a little bit like either like they're being really cautious because they're prioritizing games down the line, or they're being somewhat cautious because they just straight up don't care about winning. Choose your own adventure on that one. But it was a strange moment when it was like, oh, no Jeremy Grant or Dame. Wow. Here's the thing. They dang near almost won the game. I mean, not like really, because they got smoked in the fourth quarter, but they had a double-digit lead early. They were only down 9 heading into the fourth quarter. They were kind of in this basketball game. Let's talk about them being in the basketball game. We've covered the blizzard, we've covered the rap song. Now we got to talk about the 26 points from as promised from Nassir Little. But before we do that, I want to tell you that today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. BetterHelp can help you become the best version of yourself. If you've ever considered therapy, BetterHelp can be the option that works for you because it's cheap, it's online, it's flexible, and it's convenient. So if you're thinking about giving therapy a try, it's a great option. For me, I like to think like I truly believe when you're having a acute traumatic moment, getting into therapy can help you navigate that acute traumatic moment. But life is filled with little speed bumps. Before you hit this massive pothole that envelops your whole car, you're going to run over some little speed bumps. So the value of therapy is that you are prepared for all of those little speed bumps along the way. You are working on yourself so you don't completely lose track when you have smaller things that come up. Can be a wonderful aid for traumatic events, but can also just help you get through your everyday life. So if you want to live a more empowered life, therapy can get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. All right. A blizzard, a rap song, and then 26 points from Nassir Little. How did they get there? Well, they got there by no Dame, no Jeremy Grant. So the starting lineup against the Kings on Thursday night was Ryan Arcidiacono, Matisse Thybulle, Nassir Little, Cam Reddish, and Drew Eubanks. Whoa. You did not have that on your bingo card. You, in 10 million years, maybe not 10 million, there's a long time, but in several millennia, I don't think you could have penciled out that as your lineup this season. Pretty incredible from the Blazers. And then they had a big lead. They were up 19-4, and then they were up 22-6 when Shaedon Sharpe hits a three-pointer. 22-6 on the road with everybody resting. Damian Lillard is there in sweatpants. What is happening? Well, bad start from the Kings. You kind of knew they were gonna make a run back. I was joking with host of Locked On Kings, Matt George. I was saying that it's over, giving them the full Vince Carter, and then we were laughing that the Kings still very likely to win. The FanDuel line moved from -6 to -11. It was -5.5, then -6.5, then -11 prior to tip off because of all the Blazers absences. And we were joking they're still gonna cover that FanDuel line, and they did in the end. Kings came back, took the lead for good in the second quarter, took a 66-57 lead into the break. The Blazers had shot 15 of 26 in the first quarter. They made 6 3-pointers as a team. They were rolling. They scored 37 points. They led 37-29 after one, and then they were 6 of 21 in the second quarter, and that's how they found themselves down 9 heading into the break. But they didn't go away. Nassir Little had a monster third quarter with scoring 14 points, and a late Trey Lyles bucket at the buzzer gave the Blazers it actually might have been Keegan Murray at the buzzer of the third quarter, gave the Kings a 191 lead heading into the fourth. It was going to be a 7-point game heading in the fourth quarter after super shorthanded and all that. Blazers just couldn't hang. Opening 3 minutes of the fourth, Kings pushed the lead to 17. They outscored the Blazers 25-12 over those first 7 minutes of the fourth, and then with 5 minutes left, all of a sudden it's a 22-point game, and it's time to pull the plug. the Blazers, that's your fastest recap in the West. Blazers lose 133-116. I didn't mention it at the top, but that was your fastest recap in the West. Usually we do that first. We had to do it in the middle because to even get to the recap, we had to navigate a lot of stuff. The Blazers did a lot of stuff to get into the fastest recap territory. Also, another minor thing, magic number 115, and they lose. Sometimes it's just like that. From the box score, Nassir Little, 26 points, 3 boards, 2 assists, and 4 steals. Cam Reddish, 24 points to go with 4 boards and 4 assists. Trent Watford had 15 and 4 dimes off the bench. Keon Johnson, 16 off the bench for the Blazers. On the other side, De'Aaron Fox had 31 on 11 of 15 shooting. Domantas Sabonis had a triple-double, 18 points, 18 boards, 10 assists to go with 3 steals. He did all that work in 31 minutes. He was dominating. They Fox and Sabonis got a big lead and then chilled down the stretch. Kings the first half of the fourth quarter, they just made sure this was no longer a competitive basketball game, and that was that. In general, I actually think the Blazers played really well in this game. Like, all things considered, there's some things I'm going to nitpick in the third segment to close the show, because that's kind of like what this is, right? But beyond the sort of like structural stuff, beyond the like, do they care about winning question marks, like, the Kings are good. They've been a really good offensive team all season. They're not very good on defense, but they've been really good on offense all season. They're coming into this game, the third best record in the West. They've been good for 2/3 of the season. They're like bona fide at this point. I think there's some Kings anxiety because like Phoenix is coming, and the Lakers have looked better recently, and it's like the Clippers are finally healthy, and it's like, there's teams behind them in the standings that are probably just straight up better than the Kings, but like, so they might end up finishing like 6th or whatever in the West. But like, this is a good team. It's a good team. I don't think there's any shame in getting smoked in the fourth quarter by a good basketball team when your starting lineup is Ryan Arcidiacono, Matisse Thybulle, Cam Reddish, Nassir Little, and Drew Eubanks. Like, with all due respect to those gentlemen who played really, played hard, it's a talent league and talent won out. The Kings were more talented and they ended up kind of rolling the Blazers in the end because, like, the ball rolls downhill. Like, it just, the difference, there is the sort of role player pool in the league is very, very wide. It's like, 300 people who play in the NBA and then another 2,000 who play all over the world. Like, there's a bunch of dudes who are pretty similar skilled, but that difference from the top, the really good players, the multiple, 2 all-stars in the team, like, eventually it's just too much. The rest of the Kings did get, 20 points off the bench from Terrence Davis. Malik Monk had a 15 off the bench. I thought Keegan Murray and Harrison Barnes were both pretty good. Murray had 10, Harrison Barnes had 15. Kevin Huerter didn't shoot particularly well, finished with 10 points on 2 of 6, but like from 3, but like, this is a good team. And I don't think the Blazers like dogged it. It wasn't like, last year when they played some like tanking lineups, like, there's nights when they were like, they were down 19 early and they weren't going to be competitive. That's not what this was. Like, they're better, like, with Tease and Nassir Little, like, they're just better than that. They're better than like the true tank teams they were trotting out last year. But like, I don't think it's a bad game. I just think, I think they played pretty well, quite frankly. They got exposed at the end. The problem is like both like functionally what it says and like, I got some complaints I'll lodge in the final segment. But before I complain, and I'm going to a little bit, there's, I think, some reasonable complaints. I want to give away some hardware. Nassir Little was straight up great in this game. He was cooking. He was electric, some would say. Fiercely elegant, others might say. Beautifully powerful, I've even heard people use. That's why he is the Nissan Most Electric Player of the Week, brought to you by the all-new, all-electric 2023 Nissan Ariya. Listen, 26 points on 10 of 19 shooting. He was 5 of 9 from 3, 3 boards, 4 steals, super active. I thought the odd quarters, the first and third quarter, he was really good in. 14 in the third quarter. The reason the Blazers were only down 9 heading into the fourth is because Nas made sure they were in the stinking game. He got it done in mostly off the dribble. Now doesn't have a bunch of wiggle, like he's not like getting himself loose for some crazy shots, but he was getting to his spots and rising up and shooting. Took like maybe 3 or 4 mid-rangers that he hit, including one, across the lane that has become sort of his signature move. A couple other like mini step backs just inside the arc. Hit 5 3-pointers. The shot was working. He made threes off the dribble, like coming around pick and rolls. He was darn good, fiercely elegant, stunningly powerful. He had the duality of this combination of fierceness and elegance. He was beautiful but strong. He was in many ways like the perfect SUV crossover, the 2023 Nissan Ariya that packs pin-to-your-seat power and premium intelligence all in one EV. It's the all-new, all-electric 2023 Nissan Ariya, the EV for people who love to drive. Shop now at nissanusa.com. Still a pass first point guard. I'm still Mike Richmond. You are still listening to Locked On Blazers. Let's talk a little more about this basketball game. If you're familiar with the show, if you're not, this is your first time listener, what's up? What's up? I'm super happy that you're on board. It's fun. We do this 5 days a week. You're going to enjoy it, I promise. But if you've been listening to shows this week, and I hope you have, like one of my dreams for this season, I did a episode that was 5 things to watch, 5 things I'm going to watch and watch for in the final 24 games, the post All-Star break stretch for the Blazers. So I wanted to see Shaedon Sharpe play 30 plus minutes. Like my dream is for him to play 36, right? Like I want so much on Shaedon Sharpe's plate that he can't handle it and he fails miserably and then he has to do it again and do it again, because developmental minutes, like if you're trying to be good, there's less value in like force feeding a 19-year-old who's going to struggle minutes. When maybe you don't care about being good or the team's super shorthanded and you might lose anyways, force feed this dude minutes, give him too many minutes. And then it's tonight, it's like perfectly set up, right? No Ant, no Dame, no Jeremy Grant. Like you've already sent Josh Hart and GP away. Like the runway is open for him. And Shaedon Sharpe played 22 minutes. To be sure, Shaedon Sharpe was bad in this game. He was 4 of 14 from the field, 1 of 5 from 3, finished with 9 points, 4 fouls. It's not a very good game for him. I don't care about that. I want to see him fail dramatically by playing more. It's not super simple, because Ryan Arcidiacono played 34 minutes, and like that's just like such a coach thing. Arch, that's what he was in college. Arch is how I know of him for the Villanova Wildcats, is what Jay Wright obsessively called him on television all the time. He was like, Arch is a point guard. Like he's the sort of get him in order, get him organized point guard. And so when I saw that Billups was starting Arch, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. Like that's such a coach thing to do. Keon is like your really other option to play point guard. And he's going to be disorganized. Matisse really can't dribble and play make like that. Same with Cam Reddish. Same with Nassir Little. Shaedon Sharpe can't really play point guard in the league. And in fact, like playing him at point guard might like get him. It's not really maybe allowing him to flourish in the way that he's going to be capable. It'll be too big of an ask. Like I want to put a lot on his plate, but I want him to like play a reasonable position, and NBA point guard is not reasonable for him. It's just not going to work. His handle's not good enough. He's not a good enough passer. Like those aren't positive developmental minutes. Like I want reasonable developmental minutes. So it's like with this group it was going to be hard, but Cam Reddish played 20 minutes and 40 seconds in the first half. And he was pretty good, like for sure. And he's like sort of the only guy who can play power forward. And I get it, because he's like the right size. He's not even like a powerful power forward, but he's the right size. So it's not like there was some challenges with Shaedon Sharpe's coworkers from getting him minutes. But like if my dream was for him to play 30 plus and he couldn't even crack 25 minutes in this game, I don't think it's happening. And that bummed me out, because it's like if you can't carve out and say, no matter what, we're going to get this dude his minutes in a game like this, when is there going to be a game like it? I mean, some of this, like to be like, I'm not stupid. Like Nassir Little ate into his minutes because Nassir Little was balling. He was really good. Nassir plays 33. If not, like I've been joking on the show earlier this week, as long as I'm citing myself a bunch, let's just lean into it, that like Nas like legally was only allowed to play 18 minutes under Chauncey Billups. Nas played a bunch of minutes. He continued to play minutes because he was killing it. He had an awesome third quarter and they rode with him because he was keeping them in the game and he played 33 minutes. If Nas plays like those are Shaedon's minutes, right? Like that 3 spot, that kind of like wingy minutes are his minutes. If Nas plays 27 or 28, 26, 27, 28, that's 7 more minutes. That's Shaedon Sharpe playing 26, 27, 28 on the other end, right? Like you're splitting them. So some of that is just like Nassir Little stole his minutes tonight, and that happens. But I still wish he would have played more. And it's not even necessarily about this game specifically. It's about like I'm seeing the games beyond this. I'm looking further down the horizon and saying like, so when could he possibly play 30 minutes a night? If he can't play 30 minutes a night in this one, when could he possibly get that? Like what is a scenario in which we see that happen? Because Dame's going to come back and he's going to play a bunch of minutes. And I expect Dame to play something like, 20 of the final 23 games. Like, I don't think they're going to pull him. I really don't. He wants to play. He's been very clear about playing. He's also been clear about kind of understanding the plan and let's just do it. In a show earlier this week, I mentioned that Joe Cronin's comments after the All-Star break kind of hinted as like at a guy who's like pretty comfortable missing the playoffs. Like not saying, hey, we're going to tank, but like if we don't make it, that'll just be how it is. Like that was kind of my read on that's like me kind of parsing some of his language after when his post All-Star press conference, post trade deadline, press conference. And Dame kind of in an interview with Mark Stein and Chris Haynes kind of reiterated that understanding. Hey, I want to play and I'm going to, he used the phrase soldier up and I'm going to, put my head down and try to make it happen. But I understand the team's goals, which to me reads like another gentleman who understands that the franchise is comfortable missing the playoffs. And then the decision with Jeremy Grant and Damian Lillard is either read as them being cautious or them being cautious because they're comfortable missing the playoffs. And if all of those are true and Shaedon Sharpe can't get no 25 minutes a night, where the heck is Tristan? Dang it. Some positive stuff. I thought Cam Reddish was good. Probably got a little shot happy. But like someone had to score. So, Cam took 18 shots and 7 free throws. That's 25 shooting possessions. I think the volume is fine. There's just probably a couple threes where it's just like, oh, you didn't need to take that one. I think it's like 2 specifically I'm thinking of where it's like he just rushed him. It's like when I get the ball, I'm going to shoot it, and he took bad shots. And it's just like, hold on, you could probably get that shot later. The volume's fine. It's just like maybe a little bit more judicious with the ones you take. But like take 17 shots. Like on this night with this lineup, who else was going to score? Cam Reddish need to get him up. That's fine. That's like. The volume we want to see and all that. It's just like some of the decision making left a little something to be desired. I thought Trent Watford was really good in this game. He's such a weird player. Like he needs to play kind of 5. Like he needs to play center on offense because he needs to be like a pick and roll ball handler, making decisions out of pick and rolls. Using his speed to get. He had a play where he like beat Sabonis to the spot for a right hand layup because he can use his speed against big guys and use his strength against little guys. But if he's like a spacer, if he's playing power forward next to a more traditional center and he doesn't have the ball in his hands, he's not running dribble handoffs. It's like he's bad. And then on the other end, like he's just a really rough defensive player. He's just not big enough to be impactful around the rim. He doesn't guard in space very well. He has good sense where to be. He's just like a little slow, a little small. And that combination is pretty rough for him right now. Like I think he understands team defense, like concept wise, pretty well. He just has some physical limitations that he's not going to be able to overcome probably. So like you can't put him at power forward and have him be out of position on offense and also hampered on defense. Like he kind of has to play where he did. And like the Blazers kind of got killed in Trendon's minutes, but I thought he was good in this game. I thought Trendon was good. I thought Nassir Little was really good. And I thought Cam Reddish was like totally fine. I thought Keon had some flashes. Keon also had some moments where it's like, oops, shouldn't have done that. But he has twice Keon kind of got out of control, slipping into the paint and drew fouls heading to the rim when I thought he was just going to straight fall down and be called for a travel. But he got foul calls both times. Way to go, Keon. But like, it's, I thought there was some good and some bad with this. The stuff that sort of bums me out was the Shaedon Sharpe minutes, because I've got I got my periscope out and I'm standing at the top of the ship and I'm like, oh, even if they do tank, we might not ever get the magic of 35 minutes of Shaedon Sharpe, and that's a bummer to me. But I don't think they're going to actively tank over the next, in the next week. I don't think they're actively tank. I think there's a scenario where April is not competitive for them, but I don't think March is going to be that way. I think they're going to go for it in March. I think Damian Lillard is too proud, too wired the way he is, that if he's healthy, he's going to go for it. The thing is, if the training staff takes the decision out of his hand and rules him out for rest, you can't be competitive if the team makes a decision outside of your control. Dame has enough control that he's not going to be like a healthy scratch. This was a weird scenario, but this one felt a lot like the games after the All-Star break last year, and it's like, personally, from my, it's like, I don't know. Even if I want them to even if I think it's better for them to miss the playoffs, I don't think I can strap in for maybe they were 2-23 or 2-21 after the break. I don't think I could strap in for 3-21 to close the season this year. I mean, I will. I'll be here if that's what they do, but I'm not emotionally or mentally prepared for it. But what I am prepared for is to do 5 more episodes next week. So how about you come back and join me? Make it your first listen each and every weekday. The Blazers play Sunday night against the Houston Rockets. If they record a rap song, get caught in a blizzard, or do anything else, we will talk about it on that show. So join me then. Tell your friends to do the same. I appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you soon.